She's shy around strangers, the man said, tightening his grip on the little girl's shoulder. Aren't you, Sophie? But Staff Sergeant Roderick Vale wasn't convinced, especially when the child met his gaze and gave a silent hand signal every trained guardian knows to fear. So what did that signal mean? And what happened when Vale broke centuries of protocol to respond? Before we reveal that, hit the subscribe button and drop a comment below telling us where in the world you're watching from. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Staff Sergeant Roderick Vale stood immobile, the summer sun glinting off his ceremonial uniform as cathedral bells chimed the hour across London. The palace courtyard buzzed with excited tourists, their cameras flashing against the backdrop of centuries-old stone walls and fluttering royal standards. Unlike most guards with their fixed thousand-yard stare, Vale had developed a habit of reading crowds through subtle focus shifts, a skill that had saved his life. Twice during his tours in conflict zones, his military service had taught him that awareness meant survival in combat zones and palace duty alike. Through the sea of tourists clustered against the ceremonial barriers, a pair of eyes caught his attention, not with admiration or curiosity like the others, but unmistakable fear. They belonged to a small girl, perhaps 8 years old, while other children bounced excitedly, pointing at the guards' bearskin hats. She remained still, shoulders hunched as if trying to disappear. Despite the July heat that had tourists in summer clothes, she wore long sleeves that covered most of her body. The man gripping her shoulder wore expensive clothes, his smile practiced when observed. Vale noticed how his fingers dug into her shoulder when unobserved, making her flinch. Stand up straight, the man hissed. Remember what I told you? No talking. The girl nodded silently. When the man checked his phone, her posture briefly relaxed before tensing again under his grip. Vale thought of his own daughters, Emma and Charlotte, their laughter and trust. The contrast with this girl's distress tightened something in his chest. As the morning progressed, Vale's concerns deepened. The girl's eyes tracked the man constantly, maintaining exactly the distance he permitted. When a family with laughing children passed by, she watched them with longing before quickly looking down when the man squeezed her arm. Excited to see the guard, sweetheart? A tourist asked the girl. The man interrupted smoothly. She's shy around strangers, aren't you, Sophie? The girl nodded, but Vale noticed a slight delay before she responded to the name, barely perceptible, but significant to someone trained to read body language. Slight delay before responding to the name, barely perceptible, but significant to someone trained to read body language. My niece is visiting from Manchester, the man added, hand never leaving her shoulder, her first time seeing the ceremony. When the crowd pressed forward, the man lifted the girl up. Her sleeve rode up, revealing bruising around her wrist, the unmistakable pattern of adult fingers that had gripped too tightly. One more hour, Vale heard him mutter, then we're leaving, and if you've been good, maybe I won't punish you tonight. But the girl's shoulders sagged with resignation. Vale felt the familiar pre-combat tension, but remained bound by ceremonial duty. The man positioned them partially hidden from security cameras while whispering to the girl. Vale caught fragments. Remember what I said about running? They'll never believe you. No one's looking for you anymore. The girl remained expressionless, but her fingers curled into fists, controlling fear, not defiance. When jostled by another tourist, the man yanked her upright, revealing more bruises and various healing stages on her arm. The man noticed Vale watching and quickly adjusted her clothing, checking his watch before moving toward the edge of the crowd. Vale recognized the predatory behavior from counter-trafficking training the regiment had received just months earlier. The girl's responses, hypervigilance, flinching, resigned compliance, suggested sustained trauma, not just strict parenting. Her complete silence throughout the ceremony was telling. Survival through invisibility. The way she calculated each movement before making it. How she anticipated the man's moods through subtle shifts in his posture. Spoke of someone who had learned that survival depended on reading her captor's intentions. It reminded Vale of hostages he'd encountered in war zones, people who had developed the same haunted hyper-awareness. When the man checked exit routes, the girl's eyes met Vale's directly. The sunlight caught the unshed tears brimming at her lashes, magnifying the blue of her irises. Her look conveyed desperate pleading that cut through his professional reserve and struck something primal in him, the instinct that had once made him run into gunfire to save a wounded comrade. An elderly couple had been watching with concern. The woman approached. Lovely day for your visit, she said to the girl. First time seeing the guards. The man answered for her. My niece is shy. We're in a hurry. I taught primary school for 40 years. The woman persisted. Shy children are often the most observant, her husband added. My wife has a gift with children. Vale recognized their strategy, creating a protective social buffer around the girl. Sophie, would you like a sweet? The woman offered again. Vale noticed the girl's slight hesitation at the name. No sweets before lunch, the man replied with an edge that made the couple exchange glances. Her young mother stopped nearby. My daughter has that same backpack from the Manchester school district, she said, pointing to the pink bag. The name tag looks turned in. Shouldn't it say Sophie? The man's hand tightened. We need to go, he said abruptly, pulling the girl toward the exit. Our tour bus is waiting. But the ceremony isn't finished, the elderly man protested. Change of plans, the man snapped, dragging the girl through the crowd. Vale tracked them while maintaining position. The girl looked back once, her eyes meeting his with intensity that communicated everything. Both knew the next moments would determine her fate. The man pulled her roughly toward the gates, his head constantly scanning for security while maintaining a grip that made her stumble. "Walk properly," he hissed. "You're making a scene." A tour group briefly blocked Vale's view. When they moved, he saw the pair nearly at the exit moments from disappearing into the London streets. "Excuse me, sir," called the elderly man. "Your niece dropped something." The delay worked. In that moment of hesitation, the girl's eyes locked. With Vale's across the FORECOURT. What happened next took seconds but would remain with Vale forever. The girl's right hand rose, in what might appear as brushing hair from her eyes. But the movement continued with deliberate precision. Her fist closed, then opened, then pressed against her opposite palm. Vale recognized it instantly, the universal children's distress signal, designed for those who knew to look for it, a silent cry for help. The man caught her movement, his face transforming to rage. He grabbed her wrist so hard she gasped. "You little," he growled, abandoning pretense as he dragged her toward the exit. Vale's military mind assessed options in milliseconds. Breaking formation could end his career, but the alternative was unthinkable. Beyond the guardsman stood the soldier. Beyond the soldier stood the father. In that moment, Staff Sergeant Roderick Vale made his decision. The crack of his boots against stone echoed as Vale broke position. Tourists gasped, cameras swinging toward him. The other guards remained still, though their peripheral vision tracked him. Palace security. Vale's voice carried full military authority. "Stop right there." The man froze momentarily, giving Vale time to close the distance. Tourists scattered from his path, phones raised to capture the unprecedented scene. "Release the child immediately," Vale commanded. "This is outrageous," the man blustered, his accent refined again. "This is my niece. We have a schedule." "Release her now," Vale repeated, positioning himself between them and the exit. The girl stood frozen, eyes wide. The man's grip loosened slightly in shock, but he maintained contact. "This is none of your business," the man hissed quietly. "You're making a mistake. Do you know who I am?" "I know exactly what you are," Vale replied, making eye contact with the girl. "Young lady, would you like to step over here while I speak with your uncle?" His hesitation made it clear he didn't believe the relationship. The girl's eyes darted between them, conditioning warring with hope. "She's not going anywhere. With us," the man snapped. "Return to your post before I report this harassment." Palace security approached quickly. One guard had discreetly radioed for support. "Sir, I observed the international distress signal from this child," Vale stated loudly. "Protocol requires me to ensure her safety." The crowd formed a circle around them. The elderly couple pushed forward. "That man's behavior has concerned us for the past half hour," the elderly man called out. "The child is frightened of him." "And she didn't respond naturally to the name Sophie," added the mother. "He became defensive when I mentioned Manchester schools." The man's eyes darted between witnesses, approaching security, and the blocked exit. His respectable mask began slipping. "Last chance," Vale said quietly. "Release her arm, or I'll remove your hand myself." "This is absurd," the man declared to the crowd. "I'm her uncle. Sophie, tell this man who I am." The girl remained silent, eyes fixed downward. Vale noticed again how she didn't respond to the name. "Young lady," Vale said gently, kneeling to her level while blocking escape routes. "The signal you made, we teach children to use it when they need help. Was that why you made it?" Before she could answer, the man interrupted. "She was just brushing her hair." "This is ridiculous. I need identification," Vale stated firmly, "and documentation of your relationship to this child." Palace security arrived. "Sergeant, what's the situation?" "Suspected child endangerment," Vale responded crisply. "The child displayed the international distress signal. I've observed multiple signs of abuse." The man produced ID. "Daniel Harwick, British citizen. My niece Sophie is visiting from Manchester. I have temporary guardianship while her mother is hospitalized." "This is a misunderstanding." "Sophie is visiting from Manchester. I have temporary guardianship while her mother is hospitalized." "This is a misunderstanding." The security officer examined the ID while Vale watched the girl, who trembled now that adults stood between her and her captor. "Can you tell us your full name?" a female officer asked the girl. The girl's eyes checked with the man before whispering Sophie Harwick. Vale noticed her unnatural delivery, forming the name as if reading, rather than stating, her identity. "How old are you?" the officer continued. 8, she replied, after another glance at the man. "Your uncle says your mother is in hospital. Can you tell me her name?" Panic crossed the girl's face. "Anti-mean, my mom is," the man interrupted. "Her mother's name is Elizabeth. My sister." This questioning is upsetting her. The elderly woman stepped forward. Earlier she didn't react to the name Sophie until after he responded for her. "And look at her backpack," added the young mother. "The name tag is turned inward." Vale reached for the pink backpack. The man lunged to stop him, but security blocked him. Vale turned the tag outward. Written in childish handwriting. Lily Bennett, Year 3, Oakwood Primary. That's not her backpack, the man said quickly. She must have picked up another child's by mistake. Lily, Vale asked directly. Your name, Lily Bennett? Recognition flickered in her eyes before she looked fearfully at the man. It's okay, Vale assured her. He can't hurt you now. Are you Lily Bennett from Oakwood Primary? Tears filled her eyes as she nodded. Yes, my name is Lily. He took me from school. He said my parents were dead and nobody wanted me anymore. The crowd gasped as security immediately restrained the man, whose face transformed to cold fury. You're making a mistake, he snarled, pretense abandoned. You have no idea who you're dealing with. A tourist stepped forward. I recognize her, Lily Bennett. Missing for 3 weeks. It's been all over Manchester news. She showed her phone with a missing child alert matching the girl. Security tightened their grip on the man, radioing for police. Daniel Harwick, if that's even your real name, Vale said with contained fury. You're under arrest for kidnapping and child endangerment. I suspect police will find evidence of worse crimes. For a moment, stillness descended. The calm before a storm. The man's charm vanished, replaced by cold calculation. His eyes flicked between security, exits, and witnesses, assessing options with predatory precision. You've got nothing, he said quietly. Quietly, the man said. The girl is confused, traumatized from her mother's illness. The female officer stood protectively beside Lily, who shook uncontrollably. Vale watched the man's posture for signs of action. Police are 3 minutes out, the male officer announced. Sir, remain calm. The explosion of movement came with professional suddenness. The man elbowed the officer's solar plexus, followed with a headbutt that dropped him. As the officer fell, the man produced a concealed blade, lunging toward Lily. If I can't have her, no one will, he snarled. Vale's combat training took over muscle, memory from 100 close-quarter battle drills flowing through him without conscious thought. He intercepted the attack with a fluid precision that transformed the ceremonial guard into the elite soldier beneath the uniform. His left hand swept outward, deflecting the knife arm along its natural arc while simultaneously driving his right fist into the man's sternum with a sickening impact that folded him forward. The man recovered with the practiced skill of someone who had clearly engaged in violence before, pivoting on his back foot and slashing wildly. Tourists scattered with screams of panic. The polished blade caught the afternoon light before finding Vale's forearm, slicing through the ceremonial red wool and into flesh. Blood bloomed against the fabric, but Vale barely registered the pain. Combat focus narrowed his world to the immediate threat, his pupils dilating and peripheral awareness sharpening. The same state that had kept him alive during an ambush in Helmand years before. Get the girl away, Vale shouted to the female officer who pulled Lily behind the protective circle of guards who had abandoned their posts. What followed wasn't professional restraint but unleashed fury. Vale blocked another knife thrust and countered with devastating force, his fist connecting with the man's jaw with an audible crack. The man staggered, swinging the blade in desperate arcs. You're dead, the man hissed through bloody teeth. You have no idea who I work with. They'll find you and your family. The threat against his daughters ignited something primal in Vale. His next attack delivered the full force of protective rage. His fist shattered cartilage in the man's face. Before the kidnapper could recover, Vale struck his throat, collapsing his airway, followed by a precision blow to the temple that dropped him instantly. Vale didn't stop. The knife clattered away as he pinned the predator beneath him, his fists continuing their punishment, each impact accompanied by visions of his daughters, of what could have happened to Lily, of other possible victims. That's enough, Sergeant Vale. Enough. Hans pulled him away from the bloodied kidnapper. Vale fought briefly before military discipline reasserted itself. He's down, a colleague said firmly. It's over, Rod. Vale allowed himself to be pulled up, his uniform torn and blood-stained, knuckles split. The kidnapper lay unrecognizable on the ground. Get a medic, Vale ordered hoarsely. Make sure he lives to face justice. Police sirens approached as medical staff rushed to the scene. Vale stood breathing heavily while guards secured the area. Sergeant, you need medical attention, a palace staffer urged, indicating his bleeding arm. The girl first, Vale insisted, finding Lily huddled against the female officer, trembling but watching him with something like wonder. Is he dead? She whispered. No, Vale assured her. He's hurt, but he'll face justice for what he's done. Police secured the area while medics loaded the unconscious kidnapper onto a stretcher, handcuffed. You're bleeding, Lily said, pointing to Vale's arm with surprising concern given her trauma. Vale managed a small smile. Just a scratch, he paused. Lily, how long has he had you? 3 weeks, she whispered tearfully. He took me from school, said my parents had an accident. Her voice broke. Then he said they were dead, and nobody was looking for me. A female detective approached and introduced herself. Lily, I'm Detective Sharma. You're safe now. We've contacted your parents. They're flying down from Manchester right now. They're alive. Lily's voice cracked with desperate hope. Very much alive, Sharma confirmed. They've searched for you every day since you disappeared. Tears streamed down Lily's face, not silent, terrified tears. But the healing release of crushing fear finally lifted. Medical staff approached to check her injuries. I need to examine you, sweetheart, a female paramedic explained. Lily nodded, but her eyes sought Vale's. Will you stay? I'm still scared he might come back. He won't come back, Vale assured her. But yes, I'll stay until your parents arrive. As the paramedic began her examination, Detective Sharma pulled Vale aside. We found his phone, she said quietly. Initial review suggests this wasn't his first abduction. There are images of other children. He has international connections. Vale's jaw tightened, his earlier violence feeling justified. Will she recover? He asked, watching the paramedic document Lily's bruises. Children are remarkably resilient, Sharma replied. With support, she has every chance at full recovery. Your intervention likely saved her from worse trauma, possibly saved her life. Within an hour, the palace grounds had transformed into an investigation scene. The ceremony was suspended while evidence was collected. Vale sat outside the medical unit, arm bandaged, giving his statement to Detective Sharma. The distress signal, it was unmistakable, he explained, demonstrating the hand movement. It's taught specifically for situations when children can't verbally ask for help. That's what prompted you to break protocol? Sharma asked, though her tone suggested admiration. The signal confirmed my suspicions, Vale replied. The bruising, fear, inconsistencies in his story, everything pointed to immediate danger. Palace officials conferred with police nearby, occasionally glancing toward Vale. His commanding officer, Major Lawrence, had arrived for intense discussions with security leadership. They'll review your actions, Sharma noted. Breaking formation is unprecedented, Vale nodded. I understand the consequences. I'd make the same choice again. Their conversation was interrupted by commotion at the checkpoint. A couple arrived, the woman sobbing while the man supported her. Both faces etched with desperate hope. Police escorted them quickly through security. Lily's parents, Sharma confirmed. They were flown down by police helicopter. Vale stood respectfully as the Bennetts were brought to where Lily waited. When she saw them, she launched herself from the examination table with a cry, holding 3 weeks of suppressed terror and longing. Mommy, Daddy. Mrs. Bennett fell to her knees, embracing her daughter with such intensity it seemed she might never let go. Mr. Bennett enveloped them both, shoulders shaking with silent sobs as he kissed his daughter's hair. We never stopped looking, Mrs. Bennett repeated through tears. Not for one moment. After several minutes, Detective Sharma gently interrupted. Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, I'm Detective Sharma. We'll need to take Lily to hospital for examination. But I wanted you to meet the man who rescued your daughter. She gestured toward Vale. Mr. Bennett approached with shaking hands extended. They told us what happened, he said, voice breaking. A Queen's Guard breaking protocol to save our little girl. I have no words. Vale accepted the handshake. Your daughter saved herself, sir. She remembered her safety training and had the courage to use it. Mrs. Bennett joined them, Lily clutched tight against her. You risked your career for a child you didn't know, she said tearfully. How can we thank you? No thanks necessary, Vale replied simply. I have daughters too. I did what any parent would do. As medical staff prepared to transport Lily, she broke from her mother's embrace and ran to Vale. Before he could react, she hugged him fiercely. Thank you for believing me, she whispered. Vale knelt to her level, his composure finally cracking as he returned her embrace. Always, he promised. Always. The following morning, Vale reported to Major Lawrence's office as ordered. His dress, uniform immaculate despite the bandage under his sleeve. Footage of a Queen's Guard breaking centuries of tradition to rescue a kidnapped child had gone viral worldwide. Sergeant Vale, Major Lawrence, acknowledged as Vale stood at attention. At ease, Vale shifted to the more relaxed posture. Photos of the regiment's history lined the office walls. Generations of guards who had maintained traditions regardless of circumstances. You understand why you're here, Lawrence stated, expression neutral. Yes, sir, to address my breach of protocol. Lawrence nodded. In 362 years of regimental guard duties, no guardsman has abandoned his post during a ceremonial parade. I understand, sir. The protocol exists for a reason. Once broken, it risks undermining the discipline that defines our ceremonial role. Yes. Sir. Lawrence paused, studying Vale. That said, there's no protocol addressing what to do when a guardsman observes a distress signal from a kidnapped child. He turned to the window. The palace has received over 15,000 messages since yesterday. Every major news outlet is covering the story. The regiment's social media has gained 2 million followers overnight. Vale remained silent. Your actions created a complicated situation, Lawrence continued. From a procedural standpoint, breaking formation warrants disciplinary action. He faced Vale directly. However, from a moral standpoint, your intervention saved a child missing for 3 weeks, apprehended a dangerous predator, and potentially protected countless other children. Lawrence lifted an official document from his desk. I have recommendations from the Palace Police and Regimental Command. Would you like to know what they say? Yes, sir. The unanimous recommendation is that while your breaking of protocol must be noted to prevent establishing precedent, no disciplinary action should be taken. Lawrence allowed a slight smile. In fact, the palace has requested you return to ceremonial duties as soon as medically cleared. Tourists are specifically coming to see the hero guard. Vale blinked in surprise. Sir, a formal letter of caution will be placed in your file, along with a commendation for extraordinary judgment in an unprecedented situation. He extended his hand in rare personal respect. The regiment is proud of you, Sergeant. There are moments when duty to humanity must supersede even our most sacred traditions. Vale accepted the handshake, relief washing through him. Thank you, sir. One more thing, Lawrence added, returning to his professional demeanor. The regiment has approved compassionate leave for you. Lily Bennett's parents have requested your presence at a family gathering this weekend. They want your daughters to meet their daughter. For the first time since entering the office, Vale's rigid formality softened into genuine emotion. I'd be honored, sir. Dismissed, Sergeant, Lawrence said with an approving nod. And well done. 3 days later, Vale sat in the Bennett's Manchester garden, watching his daughters, Emma and Charlotte, playing with Lily. The families had formed an instant connection. She's sleeping through the night already, Sarah Bennett confided as she joined Vale on the garden bench. The therapist says it's remarkable. She'll have a long journey, but her resilience is extraordinary. Vale nodded, watching Lily making daisy chains. The bruises were fading, but more importantly, the haunted look in her eyes had begun to recede, replaced by cautious joy as she rediscovered safety. Children are stronger than we think, he observed, especially when they know they're not alone. David Bennett approached with drinks. The police called this morning. They've confirmed his real name isn't Daniel Harwick. He's wanted in 3 countries for similar offenses. Vale's expression darkened. Will Lily need to testify? No, Sarah answered with relief. The evidence found on his devices is comprehensive. She'll be spared that trauma. They watched the children in comfortable silence before David spoke again. The police told us something else, he said, voice thick with emotion. Based on communications they found, he planned to transport Lily out of the country that evening. If you hadn't intervened when you did. He couldn't finish. The alternative outcome hung unspoken, a family forever broken, a child lost to unimaginable horror. How did you know? Sarah asked. So many people passed by without noticing. What made you see what others missed? Vale watched his daughters laughing with Lily. Part of it was training, recognizing the distress signal, the patterns of control. But mostly, ... He paused. I saw her through her father's eyes. And once you truly see a child in danger, there's no one seeing it. On the lawn, Lily placed a daisy chain crown on Charlotte's head. She looked up and caught Vale watching her. Her smile, still healing but genuinely happy, conveyed what words couldn't express. Later, as Vale prepared to leave, Lily approached with something in her hand. I made this for you, she said, holding out a folded paper. Mummy helped me write it. Vale opened the homemade card to find childish handwriting beside a drawing of a guard in a bearskin hat. The message read, "Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible." He knelt to her level, emotion tightening his throat. You were never invisible, Lily, not to those who knew how to look. He glanced at his daughters, then back to the child whose life he'd helped save. Promise me something. What you'll remember how brave you were. The signal you made saved you once, saved other children too. They found evidence he had hurt others before you. Lily nodded solemnly. I learned it. At school they taught us what to do if we're scared and can't talk. Then your teachers are heroes too, Vale said gently. Bravery isn't about not being afraid, it's about doing what's right even when terrified. Lily hugged him fiercely. Over her head, Vale met her parents' tearful eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. Some bonds formed in crisis endure a lifetime. Driving home, Charlotte asked from the back seat, Daddy, did you really break the rules to save that girl? Vale considered carefully. There are rules that guide us, and duties that define us. Sometimes, we must choose which matters more. I think you chose right, Emma declared with 8-year-old certainty. Vale smiled at his daughters in the rearview mirror. So do I, love. So do I. What would you do if you saw a child in danger? Would you recognize the universal distress signal that Lily used? Sometimes the difference between tragedy and rescue comes down to one person paying attention when others look away. How far would you go to protect a child who isn't yours? Staff Sergeant Vale risked his career because he understood that some duties transcend uniform and protocol. If this story moved you, please hit the like button and subscribe. For more powerful Royal Guard stories, don't forget to press the notification bell so you never miss our daily uploads. And share this video with someone who should know about the children's distress signal. It could help save a life one day. Check out our previous videos appearing on your screen now. We'll see you tomorrow at this same time with another powerful Royal Guard story you won't want to miss.